Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Bullony Basketball. Here with my guy, Gavin from NBA Real Talk. How's it going, my man?
What's up, G? Looking forward to the topics you got on hand today.
For sure, man. We got a lot of stuff we're going to talk about today. I had to have you on after the way that Bulls Raptors game ended last week, which that was kind of crazy, bro. like,
Oh,
I'm not even pleased with that win, but we don't have to spend time on that really. Let's talk about the main topic of the day, which is the in season tournament starts this week, right? So we've never seen how this is going to work. And there's a lot of questions I'm sure a lot of us have. But, I'm just going to ask you kind of like the first thing I'll ask you is like, who do you think in gut feeling? Because I feel like it could be anything at this point in the season. Who do you think will win the in season tournament? And like, what other maybe expectations do you have for the first ever one?
uh, I think this is pretty much impossible to predict, but using the best logic I can, who I think might be a good pick would be the Los Angeles Clippers, because the question with them will always be if healthy or when healthy. But even, I believe he's 34, James Harden, 35, Russell Westbrook. I believe those are two regular season juggernauts. You know what I mean? That can really win you a lot of games in the regular season, even at this point in their careers. And you got that, plus you got PG and Kawhi. Um, I think the Clippers are a team, their bench, Powell. If they have to go too deep, maybe it gets questionable, but just as a basic build at this point, I think they're a well constructed regular season team because any one of those guys can really win games.
Man, that would be something for the Clippers legacy, especially if they ended up not winning the championship this year and people would be
That's the
like,
second part. I should get to that. Is just say I also think it'd be appropriate for the Clippers to overpromise and underdeliver via the in
mhm.
season.
Yeah. Because if people are saying like, "Oh, the Clippers, they have that in-season championship," like it doesn't matter. Like that's the closest they'll ever get to winning. Like I can already hear the narratives, but I don't know if I
Look at
mean the
that.
Clippers. I mean, right? Like
Oh, it'll be like the Timberwolves when they got made the playoffs last year.
oh yeah, yeah, like with like when Pat Bev was like on the scores table or whatever. But yeah, um, I feel like who I think will win it. I feel like it's between one of two teams, and we're recording this on Wednesday. They just played tonight. They played yesterday. It's on Tuesday this week. I feel like it's either going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers or the New York Knicks.
Okay,
I
yeah.
feel like those are two teams that like something like the in-season tournament. I'm already like thinking like I feel like guys like Jokic and maybe like teams like the Celtics, the Warriors. They probably it would be cool, but like I'm sure they're more focused on like April, May, June, obviously. Yeah. So like teams like Cleveland, especially like I think Darius Garland's supposed to come back really soon. Jared Allen's supposed to. I think he just started practicing again with the team, so they get healthy. A in-season tournament. There's really shouldn't be any pressure because no one knows what you're gonna say about it. They could say, this is like the All Star game," or they could say, "Well, this is just as valuable as the NBA Finals." Like no one really knows, and so they can kind of play like stress free a little bit. And I feel like the Knicks, like no matter what type of scenario it is, like they're gonna play hard regardless. If I had to pick one of those two, I've said that I think the Cavs would win it, so I think the Cavs are probably my team to pick. Um, but I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be like one of those like one of those teams that's definitely gonna be at least it's at least gonna be an average level team, probably a really good team, maybe, but it's not going to be like a super duper contender either. So
Yeah, I think I think the in season. I mean, it's all pure prediction because this is the first time it's happening. But I think it could be one of those things where it's almost like the most improved player award, where it's almost like the context affects um, how excited you are to receive that award. I
yeah,
got one of the awards once in sports, and I remember one guy talking about before. He's like, "Why would you want to get that award? It means you sucked," or something like that. And it's not actually what it necessarily means. But the context of how you get most improved, I think the context of how you get this in league, they're even making a trophy for it. Hey, that that to me is a bit much. I'm like, oh, it's got its own trophy. You know, do we want to give these guys a trophy for winning something that for games they were going to play no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, not playoff games or something where you had to earn the next games, right? You know what I mean? Or you know, earn your way through a series and earn your way to the next round. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
Unrelated, but and no one's ever done this, but I feel like maybe it would be a slap in the face if someone won the most improved player twice. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
just a little random off topic thing. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to ask you kind of about the in-season tournament is they have all these like court designs, you know, like, and it's more than really just a design because like you see like in the playoffs they'll have like, you know, finals or like playoff like almost looking like stickers like they used to be, but like now they're kind of like things from just like for you know, presentation. But like they're actually going to like color the courts. Like the Bulls is going to be red, and like the Jazz is going to be purple, and I don't remember what the Raptors is going to be. I think is it gray maybe or
Yeah,
red?
they like interesting. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it's not like the Raptors black or purple or whatever.
Mhm. But like, what do you think of these court designs? And do you think maybe they should, you know, take this, like learn from this, maybe for doing more for like the playoff courts or the finals courts or something, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this so far about a lot of the things with it. I don't hate it. You know, some of them are better looking than others, but they are eye grabbing and they showcase why these games matter, right? They're like, you know, how's anyone going to know this game means anything if all we do is tell them? So in a way, it's kind of like I think the NBA is going all out and going really hard to make something matter that maybe it doesn't, but in an odd way, I'm kind of all for it. You know, it'd be easy to just hop on the hate train with this because it first off, the tournament is a little bit convoluted. Like I've watched like a bunch of breakdowns, and even though I get the big picture, I'm just like, hey, how did you come to all these decisions? Kind of, but I'm kind of with them, like just trying to make this stuff matter. And I think the court, you know, when you're I saw them breaking it down on one of the NBA shows, like when you're flipping channels and you see that court, you're first gonna be like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? So, but personally, if it was my choice, I would love if they just made those more old school nights. You know, that's just me though. You know, if they just reverted back to like 90s or 80s, like something from the past jerseys, because that's when games during the regular season kind of were more meaningful, right? We're in this era of meaningless regular season play. Well, there's a time where, you know, the rivalries were everything, you know, and that would be cool.
And we've seen like a few instances like of it. Like I believe like the Raptors had like a fully colored court once. You know, the Hornets did recently. It was like all blue and like a dark blue, and I think there was like a light blue at the All-Star game like years back. So like we've seen it occasionally, but like I feel like we haven't really seen the manipulation of court design as much as like jerseys. Like every year there's city jerseys. You know what I mean? So that's why I thought it was cool. And while I don't know how much I like the way every court looks, at least on the graphic, I'm sure it probably won't be as bad when we watch it. But I don't know. It still is something that I appreciate because like maybe you'll like provide more of a spark. Like when they showed the Detroit Pistons, like when they were in the finals in '04 and they had that like championship trophy behind their logo, or like I think the Heat, the same thing in '06 and the Celtics in '08. Like it would be cool to see that again. But like the biggest complaint was that they were actually stickers that people were slipping on. So they wanted to
Mm.
remove it. Like it would be cool if they could find a way to maybe project that onto the floor where it's not actually causing players to slip, but like us watching at home, it's like, wow, that looks cool, you know?
Yeah, they do have the technology to do that. Also, with that stuff, I always don't want to give them too many good ideas because I don't know if you ever watch hockey, but now they actually like project something on the back of the boards behind the goalie, and it's like kind of annoying. But I'll say this: the NBA, I would say, since roughly put around like when they first started putting those sleeve jerseys, and those are really basic, a lot of them. So I think the NBA has been in a basic phase of its fashion of the jersey choices and stuff. So the court designs, while some of them not perfect or not the best looking because they're so loud, I'm kind of with it. You know what I mean? Because I want the NBA to kind of shoot some life back into the court, the jerseys, you know, the look of the game. I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see just the way it looks. Like I think that's just the biggest thing. But I mean, we
I
can
mean,
move on.
even
Oh,
though
go
it's
ahead.
because well, just because even though there is the play-in tournament, so that's why we're talking about this.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
mere fact of talking about court designs kind of paints the picture for you. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's like they're making it matter. We actually
Yeah.
think this is cool and worth talking about.
And that's another element too. Like even for the play in, like it'd be cool if they designed it or something because they really don't, Like, um, but yeah, I think I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure you are too. But we can move forward here. We could talk about the big trade of the week, which was James Harden getting traded to the LA Clippers when we all thought it never would happen. Like there were tons of people saying that they know Lawrence Frank, like a lot of like NBA players, like NBA personnel saying like, if I know Lawrence Frank and like Steve Ballmer and these guys, they won't pull the trigger on this trade. And they
Mm.
did. Especially when it seemed like the Clippers have been playing pretty well. At the time of this right now, they're 3-1. They're right now taking it to the Lakers. Like I don't know. Like it looks like they've played pretty well even without James Harden on the squad. But I will ask you, what you think of this addition for them, and really same thing for the Sixers side. And now, do you think the Clippers become the team to beat in the West with this addition?
I think more than likely they do become the team to beat in the West. Um, I could sort of uh, illustrate what I think are James Harden's shortcomings all day long. But the bottom line is he's at a point in his career where he can get you a lot of assists, still put up 20 points a night if you need it. And he'll be in a situation where those points aren't as needed. So his little ability to just spout off on any random given game, to maybe bail them out and drop his 40 or 50 that he might drop in a game 3 of a playoffs or whatever, I think becomes utterly more valuable. And I think, like him, Westbrook, you just think of all those options. It's just hard to imagine a world where they can't figure it out. You know what I mean? You got a bunch of guys sort of on the back end of their career. We all know what they want. They've all got the same goal in mind. Hopefully, Harden by this point is ready to truly dial in and not worry about his numbers, right? And I think you take all the players like that. If they started Westbrook, this would be, I don't think they're going to do this, but if they start Westbrook, Harden, Kawhi, PG, Zubats, you know what I mean? And then they can just switch those guys in and out interchangeably based on what they need to do during the game and give up. Like Russell Westbrook, if he's basically either starting or coming off your bench to run your second unit, man, that's pretty phenomenal if you ask me. So I do think it makes them the team to beat in the West, despite the fact that I think James Harden's a choke artist and he's a player that you can't rely on in a game 7 really, or when the moment really counts. But that being said, you can't dispute what he can give you, and I think he's in the best situation. Maybe Los Angeles Lakers could have offered him as good of a situation, but he's in just about the best situation he could ask for.
Yeah, it's rare, and I don't know how often this has happened, but like when your top 4 players, or at least 4 most like well-known players, are all from the same place, and then they're playing for that same place. And really, I think Norman Powell too. I don't know if he's from LA, but I think he went to UCLA, so that's like really like 5 guys that have like LA ties playing for LA,
He's from
which
California, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
yeah. So like that alone, like I feel like that adds more to the comfortability part of it. And I feel like being comfortable is important in the NBA. I mean, as much as we, talk about like James Harden's made these trade demands the last couple of years. I mean, if you think about it, really the first one started in Houston, and that was right after what happened. They had traded Westbrook for John Wall. And it's not like John Wall's like a bad player or anything. I think that year he went on to average like 20 points a game still, but it didn't seem like James Harden was happy with that move in particular, especially because the year before that when Chris Paul was on the team, Harden said, "I know what we need to do." Boom, they go get Westbrook. They have a pretty successful regular season. Then the league shut down, and it didn't really come into fruition because I think Westbrook got hurt. So it's like maybe his dynamic with Westbrook's dynamic with Paul George. I think a lot of these guys too, and obviously Kawhi recently has praised his and Westbrook's relationship for years, even dating back to like when they were in high school and stuff. So like I feel like a lot of these guys already have connections a little bit that it's not going to be as maybe bad as people think from a like mental perspective. From like be on the
Yeah.
court, yeah, because there is like one ball, like you could definitely see where the problems arise. But talent wise, like this is still going to be one of the toughest teams to beat. As for being the team to beat in the West, I would say they're second, but I think the team to beat in the West is still the Nuggets. You
Mhm.
know, they're the champions. I mean, I know they just lost their first game to the Wolves, but like they've looked pretty dominant for the most part, even though they haven't really, I would say, found their stride totally. So, with that being said, as soon as the season moves forward, too, a lot of those younger guys are going to get more of a chance. They're going to be more comfortable. They got really no pressure at this point. They are champions, and they kind of, I guess, have the luxury of like kind of being out of the spotlight for a decent amount of time that it doesn't like drag in where it's like, oh, the Nuggets, like the rumors, like this guy needs to go, this guy's unhappy, this guy's unhappy. You don't really hear that about the Nuggets, like ever. You know what I mean?
Nuggets look good. They look solid. Like
Yeah. Mm.
everything looks like it's coming up Millhouse for them.
I think if this Clippers team is healthy though, like can they beat the Nuggets? I would say yes. I think they can
Yeah.
beat the Nuggets.
Yes,
Um,
and can I just add one more thing in that what we saw from Westbrook coming to them last season, I also think James Harden can take. Basically, I guess I illustrated that. But that's a step I think James Harden can take on this team. You know what I
mhm.
mean? These
Yeah.
guys are all where they're probably willing to fill those voids more than try to go out and get their own.
Yeah, and there will be sacrifices to be made, but I don't know. We're gonna have to see how it all plays out, though. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you want, though, we can move forward here. We could talk about the Brooklyn Nets, and in particular, a lot of people coming into the year, they were ready for Mikal Bridges to take another step. A lot of people thought maybe he'd be the most improved player, even though he was averaging 26 a game when he went to Brooklyn last year. He hasn't averaged that quite yet, or he's a little bit below that. But one guy who has been averaging that and even more is Cam Thomas. And there's some people that it was really confusing because the first game of the season he was coming off the bench, really didn't even play a whole lot, but he loves to shoot the ball, and when he's on fire, he's absolutely on fire. And that makes me like think, with Mikal being a little bit passive, he definitely had more of a role player responsibility in Phoenix because he was just kind of being the corner specialist and like playing defense on the best wing. But Cam Thomas, like it seems like he could be that go-to guy down the stretch of games or go-to bucket getter when they need it most. So I'm gonna ask you, is Cam Thomas, do you think the best player on the Nets, or do you think it's Mikal Bridges, or is it somebody else?
I don't think he's the best player. I think we'll have to see a little bit more, but I think he's showing that he could be. One of the reasons I give the edge to Mikal Bridges, I just think because Mikal Bridges is actually like, isn't he like 27? I want to say he's just like he's late. He's late 20s, right? Like he's older than, and I just think his experience, like he's more of a young journeyman already at this point. I would just still take him over Cam Thomas, but I like what I see from Cam Thomas. His shot, he's got like a smooth. It's not quite a Curry shot. And it's not like a Marion shot, but it's like he's got that little like smooth like flick to it, right? I like his mid range. From the highlights I was watching all of his buckets. I didn't watch all the game. I actually didn't watch any of those games, but I, sometimes you're like, is the guy just like, are things dropping for him? You know what I mean? Like I don't want to say they look like wild shots, but some of them were kind of like, like the ones where they're kind of falling into the lane on the drive and he throws it up over his shoulder, bank in. There was a few of those types of buckets. But the boy can shoot, he can move. But also, I would give the edge to Mikal Bridges because Mikal's got that, like, he's not as big as Kevin Durant, but he's got that long, lengthy, like, Mikal's got that kind of guy you really trust on defense and offense type of build. You know what I mean? So I'm giving the edge to Mikal Bridges, but I think Cam Thomas is showing that he can be. He can be the best player on that team for sure.
Yeah, I think the way I'd put it is that like, there are special players and there are specialty players where, special players like Mikal Bridges, it's like he's capable of hitting the three. He's capable of creating his own shot, especially in the mid range. And we know he can defend. I'm still a firm believer he probably should have won Defensive Player of the Year, not this past year, but the year before that. So,
Oh,
like, you know, we've seen this guy do it kind of on both sides of the floor, variety of levels. He's improved as a playmaker. Whereas, Cam Thomas, his specialty is more so like it's very similar to like those guys like what would I say? Maybe like a Ricky Davis or like
I,
a Monte Ellis. You know what I mean? Like yeah, like not like a not I wouldn't say like necessarily like a ball hog or anything like, but it's like he can get his own for sure. Can he create for others though? And on the defensive end, what do we think about that? You could be respectable, but you're not exceptional. So
mm,
at this point, like I would agree with you. I don't think Cam Thomas is the Nets' best player. I just think it's an interesting discussion because I mean, if he keeps scoring like this, and maybe if he can evolve a little bit as a passer, I mean, look at Michael Porter Jr. Like Michael Porter Jr. Like last couple years, that dude never passed the ball, and he still doesn't so much, but he's getting better. And even this last season in their finals run, he got better on the defensive end too, better as a rebounder. So I think if Cam Thomas can elevate in a few other areas of the game and be more than just kind of like a one trick pony, I think we can definitely say he's the best player. And maybe he's on the road to doing that. I just think it's a little bit too early to put him over Mikal Bridges.
well, that's why I said, and obviously it goes without saying because we're obviously intentionally overreacting to 3 games. Like we got to wait. But the other reason I say we got to wait is because we've seen how the league works. You can come in guns a blazing, but they figure you out, right?
Mm-hmm.
They say, okay, if we do this, this, and this, you know, can we take him out? Can we take him out of the game, basically? And is he going to be able to adapt to that or not? You know what I mean?
And to be fair, maybe that's what Mikel's going through because last year, like, he broke out with the Nets. Now it's like they're game planning for him, but Cam Thomas is getting its own. When they game plan for Cam Thomas, what's going to happen with Mikal Bridges?
Yeah, and
So,
we see a good example, even though they're older, like DeMar DeRozan later in his career was able to evolve his playmaking and be one of the best playmakers on the Bulls,
mhm.
right? So we're gonna have to see what happens when the league figures him out. How does he adjust? That's kind of when we know, okay, he might be the best player, you know?
Yeah, for sure. But speaking of figuring it out, this team hasn't really, and that is the Memphis Grizzlies, who are the last team to get a win. It's tough because D Rose, that's my favorite player and everything like that. He didn't play in the most recent game against the Jazz where they got blown out, but he did play in the other games before that. I went to the one against the Nuggets, and that was probably their best chance to win a game. But right now they're 0-5. They're not starting off too hot. Ja is still going to miss another 20 games. So, what needs to fix for this Grizzlies team? And do you think Ja can save the season for the Grizzlies when he comes back?
Yes, I think he can. Do I think he will? Yes, I think he will.
Mm.
But I'm more confident in the fact that I think he can than whether I think he will. I think the plain and simple deal with the Grizzlies right now is they're a bit of a ragtag group because they have no identity. Even Steven Adams is injured, right? So you don't even have your sort of disciplinarian guy there. I can't remember. I should know his name because he's a Canadian, isn't he? Their big guy who got hurt, tore his something last year.
Brandon Clark.
Yeah. Like him or not, we can sort of talk as much smack as we want, rightfully so, about him. But Dylan Brooks gave that team swagger. Whether you like his swagger or his identity or not, he gives your team swagger and identity. You don't have Ja, you don't have Dylan Brooks anymore. Sure, Jaren Jackson Jr. is a fine player, but he's not some guy you like define the franchise by or anything, right? So right now, I think they're just a ragtag misfit group. Derrick Rose, respect him, love him, but like it's not like he was ever known for being this like epic lead, this epic leader. And like, let's be honest, he's there to mentor, but he's not there to lead, right? He's there to well, right now he's there to fill in because they don't have their best player. But he's there to sort of guide things along, not to sort of point the franchise in the direction it's going to go. In the absence of Ja Morant or, Dylan Brooks obviously being gone, it's up to guys like Desmond Bane to really fill that role. and he's going to go through growing pains trying to do that. We'll see if he even is capable of doing it. You know what I mean? Right now, this team has no identity. It has no swagger. It has, put it this way, even the things that were kind of basically a negative for the Grizzlies last year was still a positive to some degree, right? Even though they were too cocky, they had too much swagger, they had too much this. That also contributed to how good they were, right? They believed in themselves. They thought they could, beat anybody. They weren't worried about anybody in the West, right? You have to be good to at least be that cocky. Right now, they're not particularly good. Marcus Smart is good on defense, but what does he really necessarily bring to your team? So I'm not too worried about them, to be honest. But I do think what they're going through is signs of where they are, where they're at as a team. And if they don't figure it out as they go, then there'll be a big mess to clean up. But I think even if things go really crappy till Ja gets there, you can sneak into the playoffs around 40 wins usually, or find your way into a play-in or something. So even though the West is going to be tighter this year, everything up to even like Sacramento being, a factor. I think, however badly it goes, they can get into the playoffs. But I don't think they'll be a high seed this year. I'll say that much. I don't think they'll be a top 3.
Yeah, I think he can, but he's definitely going to help their chances. Like having a player like Ja, it's only going to help. But I think at least with where the team is right now, a lot of it is on, specifically with Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. I think, at least for me coming in, I thought Desmond Bane was going to be kind of the number 1. Jaren Jackson was going to fill that number 2 role. And then, from there, Derrick Rose, Marcus Smart, those guys will maybe get you 12 to 14 points a game. Zaire Williams, he's getting you maybe 10 a game or something. Tillman can maybe get you a double-double. But other than that, that's about it. That's about all for the expectation side. But seems like Jaren Jackson, he's trying to isolate too much at once. And then at other times he takes himself completely out of the game. Whether it's his foul trouble or he's just on the court and he's just not doing anything. But then there will be a stretch where 4 or 5 times in a row he'll try and ISO in the paint, but he doesn't have he's a quality catch and shoot guy, but I think his post game maybe needs a little bit of work because he's not as consistent of a finisher around the rim with that hook shot or anything.
Thing to question you on is because I was thinking about that too, but then I was like, I'll refresh myself on the roster. Dude, outside of him and Bane, it's a real rag. Who does he pass the ball to exactly? For instance, even if he's doing too much, how does he not do too much in this situation? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like he looks a little out of sync. I think part of it too is just on, with Desmond Bane, it feels like Desmond Bane wants to, be that number 1 option. I think both of them want to be the number 1 option, but they're both forcing the action too much instead of letting the game come to them. And I think that's the biggest issue with the team. Marcus Smart honestly hasn't played too bad offensively. And, D Rose, he's played pretty good for the most part. I don't get why, Taylor Jenkins doesn't close games with both of them, though. Those are your most experienced guard backcourt on the team right now. One's an MVP, been to the conference finals. The other's a defensive player of the year, been to the finals. You put those guys together, you're probably going to get a winning identity. But he really hasn't tried it other than maybe 1.5 minutes every game. At least down the stretch of games, I don't get that. That's part of that's on Taylor Jenkins because not only did he do that with Rose and against the Nuggets, but he also did that with Zaire Williams when he was catching fire one game, and then he benched him at the end. You gotta know your personnel a little bit. You know what I mean? And then
I agree, but I add one caveat to that, and that, for instance, watching Nick Nurse as a coach for 4 years, even though they're in the they need to win and stuff, I've noticed it seems coaches are more interested in being more experimental, especially early in the season with their lineups. You know what I mean? It's almost like they're playing for the playoffs from game 1 now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's just
about who he closes with and stuff. Yeah.
I just think it's a unique situation though, when the best player is out for 25 games. So it's these are the games you need to win. Being experimental, it's not as much. And the other side of it is just, outside of Rose, the bench has been horrible. Not even the sugar coated. I think tonight I checked because they were playing the Jazz. when I checked earlier, now some of these like third stringer guys got in. After the third quarter, the bench had a total of 5 points.
Like
That's not going to win you any games.
When you're looking at a team's lineup, and obviously it contributes in other ways, but you're looking at a team's lineup and you actually think like they could really use Steven Adams for some scoring. You know what I mean? Because like I don't know what any of these other guys are going to do. That means your lineup is kind of weak, right?
Yeah, I just think like they need. It would be nice if you had another guy like that on the bench because, like I said, Rose hasn't played too bad, and literally the game he had like 16. Like the rest of the guys combined for 8 off the bench.
Yeah.
Like if you're not scoring, you're not going to win games. I know we say defense wins games, defense wins championships, but like if offense isn't getting it done, you're not going to win either. So,
but nobody plays defense in the NBA till the playoffs anyway. So offense wins it during the season. Yeah.
But I guess in short, I do think Ja is definitely going to help. Can he save the season? If saving the season is at least making the playoffs or play in and having a playoff chance, I think he can do that for sure. Will he make a top 6 seed? I do not think so. And I don't even know for sure if they'll make the playoffs now. He could, I guess.
Top 6. I'd say almost definitely not top 3. A very outside chance of 4th. I would say likely squeaking into the playoffs, but I could see them making top 6. I think he could do that.
Yeah, but I don't know. We're gonna have to see what the Grizzlies do. But if you want, we can move on here. We could talk about some interesting news with Kim Kardashian's Skims have officially been named the underwear partner of not only the NBA but also the WNBA and Team USA. But what do we think about Kim K's NBA underwear line?
I mean, I've never used the product. I can't speak to it, but she's rich for a reason. I'm sure she makes something of decent quality, and it is a business, and the publicity is part of it. And there's part of me that's like, how could the NBA of all partnerships choose this one? And I don't mean that like it's sacrilegious or something. It's just so. What do you call something like that? Is that a real life living pun of some kind? Like, it's sort of the obvious, the not obvious choice. You know what I mean? I'm happy for her success, and hopefully they put out good underwear for these guys to play in.
Yeah, kind of like I guess like a reverse psychology type of thing, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see Kanye maybe at a few more NBA games now.
Well, maybe I don't know. But I think like with something like this, it's like, first of all, I'm thinking like, how are they going to market it? Like, like
that was actually because I did look into it, but I'm like, so is it like super like she's the face of the men's underwear brand, or she just owns the brand?
Well, it's her like underwear thing. Like, yeah, I don't know if she's like the face, but like it's her design thing. Yeah.
But I'm just like, it's just I don't know. It's you know what it is? It's one of those things where you say, "Is this real life?" And you're like, you couldn't have written that in a movie, right? You couldn't even thought to write that in a movie.
Yeah, that's why I'm confused. It's like I don't know how they're gonna market it, and then also it's like, will the NBA players like? I'm curious how they think about it because I know already some players like have kind of been a little hesitant. They're like, I don't know how to feel about this, like, or oh nah, like I don't know, like.
First, and now she's gonna just put it on all of them with her underwear.
Like I don't know, is this like a team? Like I don't know, is this like a team thing now? Like how they have like the socks, like everyone has to wear like certain like approved socks or whatever, but like, so is this gonna like for the underwear too? And like, like I don't know.
I'm already thinking of all the ridiculous innuendos you can come up with her supplying to the NBA players, like now she's been in all their pants or something, like, or like all those types of windows you can come up with because she's, how many NBA players does she date, or her family dated? Like almost 10 by now.
All of them. Hopefully no players that I like anytime soon, because that's a curse always.
Yeah,
but
exactly, that's what I mean. It's like she's trying to curse the whole NBA.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious to see how this works. I think it is though good for the WNBA. Like, for sure, that makes
I
sense.
that's a great point you bring up because you know what? The WNBA needs support. And I'm not acting like I'm an expert in everything Kim Kardashian is up to. And I know almost everything she says stirs up controversy, but I have watched stuff about her. I think she is one of those like, female empowerment, mogul types. Who wears it a bit more than just as an image. Obviously her image is everything, but I'm saying I've seen her she promotes shows and stuff that are in that vein of that type of stuff. And I think the WNBA, it never hurts for them to get some association with something that gives them some brand recognition, stuff like that. Like they're finally getting some sneakers and stuff. So this is another step in that direction. I think that's good for the WNBA because I think they need to do something to spice up that brand.
Yeah, anything with a crossover to a bigger celebrity, bigger brand. I think
Yeah,
that's definitely what
yeah.
the WNBA needs. The
You know what?
NBA,
He should coach WNBA.
she should.
But if anyone who's not qualified would just make it in there, it's going to be Kim K. You heard it here first.
That would be interesting. I'm not gonna lie. Like, if we were talking about brand recognition, though, I feel like more people probably would go to the games if she was a coach. Like,
Exactly.
she probably would be the worst coach, but some people would
And
just go to the games.
it's kind of like well, I'll just say it is that they do need, even though a good majority of their fan base is female, like the WNBA gets so much support from the NBA, like from the players, from the fans and stuff. We need to get more females at those games, right? More females interested in basketball. And I'm shameless when it comes to stuff like that. I don't think it's bad how people necessarily get into these things, right? So if it takes Kim Kardashian to drag over a certain audience to get more attracted to basketball, I'm all for it, and I think that's great.
Yeah,
In the long
yeah, for sure. But yeah, we can move on. We can talk about this next topic with this past week, man. Joel Embiid got fined 35K for doing the Triple H celebration. So, do you think this was a justified fine? And I guess just asking you in general, like, what are your thoughts on like players being fined for, maybe doing some obscene or just any celebrations like that?
I think that's fair and appropriate, and I love everything about it. I loved because I loved pro wrestling growing up, and that was something I was doing on the playground playing basketball in sixth grade, or he was doing like that one, the original one, and it is inappropriate, and he shouldn't do it. But if you're going to break a rule and that's the way you decide to break it, there's worse things he could do. It's highly inappropriate, but it was so endearing to me that yeah, I think the fine was fair, and I think the action was called for because he was feeling it. And I'll leave it at that pretty much. I'm a fan of it happening, and I'm okay with the fine. And I hope he should understand that he should get fined for it. And yes, I do think, at the end of the day, there's always are these guys role models or not? I think the NBA is too soft, but at the same time, there's certain lines you shouldn't cross. And I think he just barely crossed it, but he did cross it. You know what I mean? And there's worse ways guys have crossed it. And to be honest, like, it's a category where it depends what certain things fall into, like let's say like Kyrie has done or certain disrespectful things players have done in certain environments. So, I would say they do have to enforce it cautiously. That's the thing. Because obviously players sometimes stir up controversy and walk those lines. Draymond Green as well.
Yeah, I think at least at this point it would be hard to maybe change that. Like where it's like maybe taking away the fines or like maybe limiting it. I think it was a fair fine, especially because like 35K maybe to someone, one of us, it's like wow, that's crazy. But to Joel Embiid, that's kind of nothing. You know what I mean? So I think that's the one thing, but I don't know. I enjoy seeing the celebrations like that on occasion. Like even sometimes like people will celebrate against like my favorite team or my favorite players, and it's like sometimes it might be something that I'm like, wow, that was a cold celebration. Like I mean, I'm sure you remember like when Sam Cassell did like the big balls celebration or whatever, and then he actually hurt himself by doing that, but like.
That was a good one. Oh, I'm gonna watch that after again.
But see, like I like that though. Like I think that's fun and like in a way, I feel like maybe some of those celebrations it shows more so like the Jordan side or like the Mamba mentality side because it's like we're just playing and like we don't care about you. Like we want to like rip your heart out. We want to be disrespectful between the lines, you know. But outside the lines, just whatever. But like between
Yeah.
the lines, like I don't care what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get in your head, like this and that, you know.
Here's an interesting question. Because so the original one when the DX had it from wrestling, they did like the cross chop, but then they changed it to the X. Do you recall that?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
here's if Joel Embiid had done the X, like truly the Degeneration X version, do you think A, he gets fined, B, it's as much? Because I imagine the fact it was such a huge fine was mostly due to the fact that it's like basically of a sexualized like that.
Um, I mean, I feel like the fine, if it were a fine, would still be the same. But I feel like he honestly, if he had only done it once, he probably wouldn't have even got fined. Honestly,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
the fact he did it like 6 times, it's like,
yeah,
and like literally the other camera even was able to pan to it and show it 4 of those
yeah,
6 times, like up close. It's like, all right, we all saw it. Like you can't hide it. Like.
yeah. The face, he's like the face he was making as he did it.
Like he couldn't even hide it, you know. Like maybe like there's sometimes where like maybe someone might say something or whatever like under their breath or something. Maybe a coach hears or a player's here, whatever. But like, you know, if you're mic'd up, you're gonna hear that, you know. Like so,
Yeah.
it's like one
Well,
of those things.
I also I loved it because I think a lot of people don't know how much like a lot of basketball players, especially the older ones, really like pro wrestling. Like LeBron James is a huge Undertaker fan. They wear those belts and stuff all the time. So like I'm just like I'd love it if I saw like Braun or somebody coming out and getting ready and they're doing like the Triple H, they're like spit water in the air or something, and maybe even the arena gets in on it and just playing like the music or something like that. Like it would just be it'd be pretty funny. So I hope it's a trend of sorts that trends that way. But I mean, he might have just been doing it just to be inappropriate, and not even thinking about pro wrestling. Who knows? Maybe
Yeah,
we'll never.
I mean, I know he's gotten better at like maybe like the showboating and like this and that, like even like on social media, like when he used to always go crazy like that. But every now and then, I feel like Embiid still always has one of those moments in him. So
Yeah, like I, especially as a Raptors fan, I hate Embiid. Like I hate him, but like I like him in that I think he's good for the game, and he's the type of villain because like he's the guy. I'm like I hope like just I want to beat him so bad. You know what I mean? And in the grander sense of being such a fan of the game and a fan of storytelling within the game and wanting to see those old rivalries come back, that's why I think he's great. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. We'll see. I'm sure there probably will be plenty more fines and plenty more obscene celebrations, even just this season. Um, but yeah, I don't know if you want though. We can move on to this mini game to end the show.
Yeah, let's do it.
Alrighty. So just to explain to the viewers once again, so this is the NBA Fast Money mini game. I did it on the show last week, but basically how this works, if you guys have ever seen Family Feud, they do, really it's two teammates. They go up to try to get 200 points, and they'll try to answer 5 questions with either 20 or 25 seconds, depending on who goes win. And they just got to give like the best answer. So like last week, one of them I gave was name an NBA player that you would be most likely to attend their barbecue. And that one was kind of like a hard one, but there also might be maybe easier ones. I think one of them last week too was like name an NBA team that's never made the finals. So there, it kind of depends. There might be some harder ones, there might be some easy ones, and your objective is to try and think like the average, I guess, NBA fan. Like the most popular votes are probably going to get the most points. The least popular votes or the least thought of votes will get the least amount of points. And so there are 5 questions. Now I'm gonna give you 60 seconds on the clock to answer it. If you absolutely don't know and you're like, I don't know, and like you can pass, go to the next question, and then I'll come back to that question at the end. But yeah, are you ready?
I don't think so, but I'm not going to be more ready, so let's just do it.
All right. So I'll start the timer, and In 3, 2, 1. Give me a current NBA player that's a bench player for the Phoenix Suns.
Oh man, pass.
Give me an NBA player that fought in a WWE match.
Any NBA player, Dennis, like current NBA player?
Anyone.
Dennis Rodman.
Okay,
No, in a WWE match? Oh, no, that's wrong. Shaq.
Okay, give me an awesome NBA nickname.
The Truth.
Okay, give me an NBA player's last name starts with an I.
Iverson.
Give me someone that would be considered the greatest Raptor of all time.
Kyle Lowry.
All right, and give me a current NBA player that's a bench player for the Phoenix Suns.
Oh, man.
You got 15 seconds.
Man. Oh, man. Why am I blanking? I know one.
It could be someone who's been starting recently, too.
Nurkic? I don't know.
Okay.
You did one.
You did get Nurkic in time. Okay. So we're gonna go through. We're gonna show how you did. So
I didn't even know. He might have just. Yeah.
So I'll reveal the answers that the people said. So the first one, give me a current NBA player that's a bench player for the Phoenix Suns. You said Nurkic out of desperation. That was not on there. Did not get any points, unfortunately. Some of the answers were, one of them is a guy who's been starting recently, but I think he'll be back on the bench when everyone's healthy. Eric Gordon was the top one. Yeah. Another one, there was the second one. This guy has hardly even played, but Bull, fan favorite.
I didn't even know he was on them.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then other guys that got votes were Yuto Watanabe, Grayson Allen, who's been starting recently, but I think they're thinking he'll go on the bench too. And then Drew Eubanks, Nasir Little, and Jordan Goodwin. So, yeah that one was kind of tough, though.
Blanked hard because I think Eric Gordon was on my mind, but I couldn't think of his name. Plus, I thought he was starting anyway. I was like, they just acquired someone from the Rockets or the Clippers or something.
Yeah, that one was kind of tough just because most of those guys, it's like they've kind of been starting lately with Booker and Beal out, you know?
Last year, because I was watching Mad Suns last year, the year before, but I know like
they made so many changes.
Yeah.
You still got to get used to it. Okay, so your second one, though, you said, give me an NBA player that fought in a WWE match, and you said Shaq.
Yeah.
That was on there. That got you 26 points. That was the second best answer. Dennis Rodman was the number one answer, though.
No, but here's my question. Rodman fought in WCW. That's why I retracted it real quick, which WWE did later acquire. Did Rodman ever fight in the WWE? I haven't watched wrestling for many years.
I believe he did. as well. I think he did a couple things. I think him and Shaq did a couple things like that. And then also on here was Trae Young was on here, Karl Malone was on here, and Enes Kanter was on here.
So that's what I'm saying is Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman definitely fought in the late 90s in WCW. Actually, like pretty much while they were facing each other in the playoffs practically. But I don't know. I don't think Karl Malone ever went to WWE. Maybe he did. I wasn't even sure if I knew Shaq because I knew Shaq did a thing with Big Show. You might have to double check that one. I don't know.
I might have to. The people might have been wrong on that one.
Yeah. They fought in the 90s. So.
But you still do get 26 points for Shaquille O'Neal, which is pretty good. Now give me awesome.
Was there an answer higher than him?
Well, just Rodman was the only one, like I said.
Okay, yeah.
And then those other guys, like I said, did get points. I'm surprised 2 people even said Enes Kanter. But all right, the third one, you said give me an awesome NBA nickname. You said The Truth. That was surprisingly not on there at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Number one on there was Pistol Pete for Pete Maravich. That one got 31. Another one was Chocolate Thunder for Daryl Dawkins. Some of the other ones were Air Jordan, Black Mamba, The Answer, Iceman, and The Glove.
It's so funny how you blank on random questions.
That one, honestly, The Truth, that's kind of a tough nickname, though. So, I feel like that could have easily been over The Glove.
Good, yeah, it's so good, but it's like it's not like the first one you think of when you think of NBA nickname, though.
Yeah.
It was I just thought it was like the best one.
Yeah.
That guy's a truth, man.
Now for the fourth one though, give me an NBA player whose last name starts with an I. You said Allen Iverson. That was a good answer. That was the number one answer with 39 points.
Feels
So
like such an obvious answer to pick.
yeah, that was a good one. The only other one that was maybe even close in contention was Kyrie Irving. It got like 25 points.
Nobody said Iguodala, eh?
Wait, what were you thinking?
Nobody said Iguodala, eh?
Well, he was actually third on the
Oh,
list,
okay.
but and then also Brandon Ingram got a few. Zadrunas
Right.
Ilgauskas got a couple, and
Big Z.
Dan Issel even got a couple. So that was pretty good. You got the top answer there.
Very
Um,
nice.
and now for give me someone that would be considered the greatest Toronto Raptor ever. You know, this one should have been a freebie to at least get one of them on there. You said Kyle Lowry. That got you 19 points on there. Number one was actually Vince Carter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
number two was Kawhi. Lowry was three. DeRozan, Chris Bosh, and someone actually said Masai Ujiri, which is pretty interesting.
Who was number two? Kawhi?
Kawhi was number two.
Wow.
I'm not gonna lie. I
Yeah.
think
Not
this type
bad.
of question depends on the day.
It's just like you'd think people would like understand like 1 year can't make you really the greatest, even if you're like the most. You could be the most important Raptor of all time. You
Mhm.
can kind of be like an honorary greatest, but like the greatest is going to go to the guy who like gave the servitude, right?
Yeah, I think
If
this one
Lowry
was.
hadn't that team, if Lowry hadn't been on our championship team, then maybe it would be quiet because we wouldn't have like DeRozan or anybody else. Like you can't give it
Mhm.
to the guy there longer but didn't win, you know.
That's
Uh,
fair. Yeah,
yeah.
it's. I've seen this question like go so many different ways where it's like one poll might have Vince Carter leading, another might have Kawhi, another might have Lowry, and another might have DeRozan. You know what I mean? So like, I
Like
feel like it depends on the day.
I'm of the opinion because it comes up a lot. Should they retire Kawhi's jersey? I said Kawhi doesn't get his jersey retired, but he's the only guy who plays 1 year who gets a statue outside the arena. He gets a statue of the shot against the 76ers. Just a shot, maybe like slouched down or just shooting it, whatever. So he's gonna be like the only player where it's like we refuse to retire your number, but you get a statue at our arena.
Like how many jerseys? They don't really have jerseys retired like that, right? Like the
I don't
Raptors.
even know if we even retired any, and if anything, like Vince Carter needs to be the first.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah, that makes sense.
now, who would we retire? Like I don't think we retired like Mighty Mouse or anybody. So it's like, yeah, I think Vince Carter's like, even if Kyle Lowry ends up being definitive, like if he comes back and wins us a title, whatever the case, you know what I mean? Even if Kyle Lowry becomes like truly, indisputably the greatest Raptor of all time, I do believe we need to retire Vince Carter's jersey first.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, he was kind of like the first star there. But I mean, even though you did not get anything for the first and third question, you still get 26 on number two. You got 39 on number four, and you got 19 on number five, which brings your total to 84 points. That's pretty good.
Out of 100 possible,
Well, I mean, there was, I think the possible on this one was 64, 93.
all right, because it's based on how much you get out of each one.
I mean, but still, I mean, you got a top on all the ones you got a top three answer. It's pretty good. Usually on the regular Family Feud, it's like you want to try and aim for like 100 or so. So like getting 84, it's not too bad.
It's not a bad start. It's something to build on.
It's not bad. It's not bad. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a W episode. I thought we talked about a lot of great topics. You know, again, hope you guys enjoyed. And do you got anything you want to add before we close this thing out?
No, man, I had a great time. Great topics as always. Keep putting out the great content and keep honoring the old school while keeping it up with the new school. I love it. Love it all.
Sure, got it. Got to hit all the eras, man. Got to hit them
Yeah,
all. But yeah, again, hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching, and we're out. Peace.